Hello everyone, this is LB3 and I am back again with another draft profile video. This video is of course brought to you by extremely poor lighting conditions in my apartment, so I'm being lit with a phone flashlight. I am currently working on a lot of videos. I have a lot planned for before this coming draft and then some planned for afterwards, so that's a lot to look forward to. But anyways, I wanted to start off with my normal stuff, my 2021 NFL draft profiles. I have at least 10 players I want to get done, and we're going to start off with an easy one. The player who I think the Bengals are going to pick, top 5, Jamar Chase, the wide receiver from LSU. Now, Chase was a phenom in 2019 with Joe Burrow, so I am really excited for us to dig in, because I think that he's going to be even better if he lands with Joe Burrow in the pros. So we're going to kick off the evaluation with his athleticism. For this year of draft profiles, we'll be taking a look at athleticism with RAS, or Relative Athletic Score, created by MathBomb on Twitter, so be sure to go check him out. Of note, this year with no combine, some numbers may be a little inflated, but regardless of that, Chase is an insane athlete. A 4.34 is a great time, and a little faster than I expected, but of note, a 19-year-old player can definitely improve their time coming out of high school and just overall year to year. Overall, you see all the great scores. He's a phenomenal athlete. This is just another check mark in the long list of check boxes for future top 10 picks, and he absolutely nails it. So it's a quick evaluation with the athleticism, so let's dig into his strengths and weaknesses with his first strength. To start with, in terms of strengths, I kind of just welded like 4 different strengths together into one to create the first one, which is his deep ball ability. Deep ball ability is kind of vague, but it means a lot of things to me, and well, Chase is kind of good at all of it, so I put it all together. Ball tracking, hand fighting, timing his jumps, using his athleticism for late separation, strong hands, it's a lot of stuff all together, and he's good at all of it. So let's take a look at a couple plays I think show some of these traits. This first play is something that will be sporadically called pass interference in the NFL, so it is a bit of a gamble, but the little push off he gets is a perfect example of what I mean when I talk about his skill at hand fighting. And you can see it through the rest of the route too. He's excellent at using his arms to create the small space he needs to make the catch, and he does perfectly accelerate underneath this ball, which allows his momentum to carry him into the end zone. The second play is absolutely just bonkers in terms of showing some of the abilities I listed. He's able to, early on the route, get a little bit of space by not a push-off. This one definitely wouldn't be called, but it gives him just enough space for Joe Burrow to put the ball where only he can get it, a great throw, and he's able to come down with it through a lot of contact, watch it perfectly into the basket. It's a phenomenal play, and just exactly what I mean when I talk about his deep ball ability. With all that said, let's move on to a weakness. Mix it up, get some variety. We're going to go with one where we can revisit that last clip we looked at, with a look into his press technique. Now, in my opinion, Chase has no extreme glaring weaknesses, but his press could definitely be improved. He just doesn't seem to have much of a plan going in, which is clear looking at stuff like this first play. And you see this occasionally on his tape. He definitely needs to work on his releases a little bit, but they're far from bad. Even looking back at the other play, he kind of just overpowers the cornerback, which will be much harder to consistently do in the NFL, even if it should still allow him to feast on lower tier corners. Now, of course, moving on to another strength, we're going to talk about his flashes of athleticism. One of the most intriguing aspects about Chase to me is the fact that he was only 19 the last time we saw him playing football. He was, admittedly, extremely dominant, but he still had so much to improve on, which makes his dominance even scarier. I think one of those things is further harnessing his athleticism, which is something that's absolutely crazy. He ran the 4.3s at his pro day, which even adjusted for the fact that pro day times are normally a little fast, still leaves him at a high 4.3, low 4.4 time at the combine. And it's crazy because it doesn't really seem like he plays like that all the time. But sometimes we see him really harness his speed and his explosiveness in ways he rarely does. That gets me extremely excited for his NFL potential. On this first play, which is a clip from the press week display, the quarterback is not running full speed when he makes this catch. But to me, you see clear and quick acceleration for Chase. He speeds up a lot in a very short distance in a way he rarely did. That allows for the easy touchdown catch. That's the kind of stuff that hints at so much more. The other play, it's simple. It's just him after the catch, where he's great in college. He's great at running after the catch. And I think that something about it is not having to worry about the cornerback. You sometimes really see him turn it on. It's almost like when running routes, he's more worried about dominating the cornerback than necessarily just getting open. I think that overall, his flashes of athleticism suggest there's so much more he can unleash to really dominate in the NFL. Alright, after that strength, we have another weakness and another strength. And we're going to start off with the weakness, which is another one that suggests he has a lot of room to grow, but one that I think is a bit more of a negative. And this time it's about his route running. He's kind of weak on the short and intermediate parts of the field. Now, he didn't run the best routes in college. I think he benefited a lot because of how scared corners were of him and how wide open the LSU offense was. He had, not a huge route variety. He had lots of rounded corners on his routes, little effort being put into faking out the cornerback with footwork or head movement. Overall, Chase could definitely improve his short and intermediate route running and get away from LSU's scheme, and with NFL coaches should really help with that, even if his bread and butter will always be the deep stuff. I think adding a really good double move, and whoever drafts him mixing in just some comebacks and curls, could make him virtually unguardable, but overall, just adding more intermediate and short route running prowess would just overall improve his game. For this one, I've just had the clips playing behind me as I talk this whole time. You can see what I mean. It's evident on basically every intermediate and short route he ran. He just kind of relied on cornerbacks being terrified of him and the LSU scheme just getting him open looks. The last strength is going to be a short one, especially because some might consider it a weakness for Chase, but it's his blocking. For me, his blocking is a strength because he tries, and he's clearly a physical enough player to do it. I'm not going to knock a college receiver for blocking as long as they have the physicality and the willingness, because that's those important parts anyway. I've just got one clip, so, look, he tries. I don't know what you want me to say. Nice block. Regardless of all that, this is nearly the end of the video. This year, since people seem to love them, I decided to do comps, although I'm doing comps. I'm only going to do them if I really like a comp that I find. And for Chase, I happened to find one. So I found this one because of Josh Norris and Joe Goodberry on Twitter. They both recommended I check this guy out. He played before I really started watching the NFL, before I started high school mostly. So that's why they had to really recommend him. That's why I started really watching the NFL. So I went and checked him out, and it's wide receiver Chris Chambers. One of the saddest quarterback wide receiver lists you've ever seen in your life. But I think that his play style is very similar to Chase. He's a medium-sized receiver who plays a lot bigger than his size, has exceptional deep ball skills, but maybe isn't the most polished short and intermediate wide receiver. I think that, if he'd played with better quarterbacks, he might be on a similar tier to what Chase, I think, can be. Chase could continue to grow and really develop his game beyond where Chambers ended up, but I think that as of right now, I think it's a great comp, and I think that it's a very realistic and good expectation to have. With that said, let's go ahead and close out the video with my final thoughts. Now, last year I said Jeudy was the best wide receiver I've ever formally scouted, which isn't a huge bar to cross. I started really in 2016, so not the best list of wide receivers, but I loved him absolutely, and this year I think Chase is better. Now, I can't go and compare him to Odell, Mike Evans, or Julio as prospects, as I didn't scout then, so I can't really go back with the hindsight that I have and give them a fair shake. But I think that Chase is going to have immediate success in the NFL, especially on the deep stuff. Let him do what he does best. I think the Bengals are a perfect landing spot. I love to see him on a lot of teams, any team where they have an established quarterback and they have other wide receivers, so that Chase isn't the only threat. So that way he can do what he does best and not be forced to try to be this do-it-all wide receiver one early in his career. But overall, I think he's a great player who's going to have a great career. So thank you. My next video is going to be on LSU linebacker Jabril Cox. That should be coming out on, I think this is Wednesday, so Thursday. So thank you very much. Have a nice day.